We've been channeling pretty good, so. Okay, hey everybody, we're here with the Gamer Seuss channel and the Springfield Game Expo channel, giving you game time once again, like we're here every week on Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're just getting things set up. We're actually a couple minutes before the show starts so we can get some of the setup stuff done and not take away from our time. So we're hoping to actually not go over time for once. I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a vain hope. We never go there, but we can hope, right?
Yeah, we know.
So let's get a sound check in real quick. So check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2.
Check.
Yep, we got it. Okay.
All
And
right.
I'm going to bring in my chat pop up, and I'll monitor my channel. And as normal, Lurch will monitor the Springfield Game Expo channel. So we got both of those chats being monitored. Now, please excuse us if we don't see you say something in channel. It's probably because we're a little bit more focused on the show itself. Give us a second. Or if Sophia Starr is in channel, catch her attention because she will get mine. She's actually physically in the room, across the room from me, and she's my monitor in my channel. She's not always on, though, so if she's not on, don't worry about it. I think she wants to do something else today. Anyway, let me get the monitor going on my phone so I can see how many people are logged in at any given time.
Okay. While you're working on that, I thought I'd share a little something that amused me today.
Okay.
I was listening to a podcast, and just had me dying.
Wait a minute. There are other podcasts than ours? Oh my God. Say it isn't so.
Yeah. Hard to imagine. But yeah, so the host of this other show said, he's like, hey, who's that vampire hunter that everybody likes that isn't Buffy or Blade? Is it Van Halen?
That everybody likes, huh?
Oh man.
I mean,
all of his co-stars, all of his co-hosts or whatever on the podcast started giving him a hard time. He was looking for Van Helsing.
It's like
wasn't too far off. Got the first four letters right.
It's like, yeah, not only that, but Van Helsing is not only that vampire hunter everybody likes, but he's the original vampire hunter from Dracula. I mean, come on.
Right.
He's the most classic nemesis that Dracula had.
You mean Van Halen, right? That's who Bram Stoker was
Eddie
writing
Van Halen,
about.
exactly.
Was Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen. There's just something about Dracula not liking good rock music. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are Game Time. We're here every Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Gamer Seuss channel and the Springfield Game Expo channel with me, Gamer Seuss, or Doc for short. We've got my co-host Lurch with me today, who's with me just about every show. Philip Landergan. And then Greg is not with us this week because he's out of town for, I believe it's a concert. So he wasn't able to make it this week. Of course, last week he wasn't here because of scheduled board game night over at Holdfast Brewing Company, which is also something else put on by Game. You might be wondering what Game is. Game is the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo. It's a big convention we do here in Springfield, Missouri, usually in October. We've got the next one, as you can see on the thing in the middle here, coming up in 2022. We do have our dates confirmed and everything. It'll be the 14th, 15th, and 16th. If you monitor the Eclectic Endeavors group on Facebook, you'll hear any news upcoming that we don't, of course, also tell you here on the channel. And you can volunteer there. You can find out when we're going to have a meeting. Come in and volunteer. Most of our meetings are open to the public. We're part of the Springfield Regional Art Council, and we are a 501c3 recognized under that umbrella, where all of our profits We don't. None of us get paid. Everything that we make over and above our operating expenses go to furthering the educational side of these nerdy hobbies that we love so much. So we're looking at giving some grants to like some after school programs for nerdy after school programs like anime club or D&D club or theater arts clubs, things like that. Anything that would fall under our nerdy kind of thing, costuming guilds, all would be great. Miniature painting, any of that kind of thing. And you can contact us to find out what it would take to possibly get your club in the consideration for that as well. So stay tuned to us every Wednesday, and then you can find old episodes of the show on the Gamer Seuss channel over on YouTube. Just type in Gamer Seuss in the search, and it'll come up and look under the Game Time playlist. And I should have all of the old episodes. We are also starting to get some of the episodes over on the Springfield Game Expo YouTube channel, but of course we haven't been co-broadcasting there the whole time, so some of the older episodes won't make it over there. We're going to jump right in today because, like I said, we are going to try to get through this without going over. We do, if you've watched our show, we do typically end up going over by a half hour or so almost every week, especially when
Yeah,
we got a lot of media coverage.
yeah,
When a whole bunch of media stuff comes out, boy, are we swamped. And then, of course,
yeah.
usually we have our co-host Greg here, which means there's three of us talking about topics. Oh, and as far as who we are in Eclectic Endeavors or Game, I am the director of cross promotions and the director of panels this year. And Lurch is our co-chairman and director of electronic gaming, which he's been since the second year of Game. And Greg, who's not here, is director of tabletop gaming. So that's your RPGs, card games, board games, things like that. Um, anyway, we're going to dive right in with our first topic, which, as usual, I usually set the first topic to Lurch. So here you go. Something having to do with Fortnite.
Yes. So you may remember a few weeks back, a couple months ago. Time is an illusion. Epic Games sued Apple, or maybe it's the other way around. I'm getting a little fuzzy on it now. I'm not a
You've
lawyer and I
slept
don't
since
keep a
then.
close eye on the law.
You've
Yeah,
slept
I
since
suppose since
then.
then. Um, and I'm not really want to talk too much about the specifics of the lawsuit. We've talked about it a fair amount in the past, and that's not really what the update is today. Other than, as part of this case, the courts did order Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, to pay out $6 million to Apple for money that Fortnite made that didn't fit in Apple's guidelines for how for Apple to make a 30% cut off of all their sales by selling in-game currency. Anyway, so what I want to get an update is that Fortnite and Epic Games as a whole is still being blacklisted from the ecosystem of Apple. Apple's not going to let Fortnite reappear on their platform anytime soon. Now, what's interesting here is this Epic CEO, Tim Sweeney, says, and I quote, Apple lied. Apple spent a year telling the world, I guess it's been a year now, the court and the press they'd welcome Epic's return to the App Store if they agree to play by the same rules as everyone else. So, end quote. Now, Epic agreed to these terms and agreed that if they get put back on the platform, they will pay, Apple the way they want to be paid and not circumvent by using internal transactions. But Apple has decided to not reinstate their developer account, and Apple responded. Apple put out a statement saying, in light of this and other statements since the court's decision, coupled with Epic's duplicitous conduct in the past, Apple has exercised its discretion not to reinstate Epic's developer program at this time. Oh, that was from the Apple lawyer Mark Perry. He adds, furthermore, Apple will not consider any further requests for reinstatement until the district court's judgment becomes final and non-appealable.
That's probably
long
Apple
story
saying
short,
they took too long to make a decision, so now they're not going to honor their original deal.
Yeah, so that's kind of troubling that Apple is refusing to uphold what they claimed they would, because they said that if Epic agreed to their terms, then they would reinstate it. Epic has now agreed to follow by Apple's rules, but now Apple says, no, we're not going to reinstate you, and we won't until after the district court's judgments are final and non-appealable. So not until they are 100% confident that the entirety of this suit is fully resolved.
Well, you got it.
So that Epic can't try to do anything else.
As much as I'm not a big Apple fan because of how they do business as far as being super proprietary, not allowing microtransactions that don't go through them and stuff like that, you got to look at the time frames involved. When Apple made the initial offer, if they didn't take it right away and they waited till something else happened in court first, which we may not know what all the details are, at that point, Apple is fully within their rights to go back on it, because they don't leave these things. They didn't say we'd let you back in any time. They said if you would comply, we'd do it. Then if the court goes past a certain point, now they're no longer got an incentive to comply. I mean, Apple has no incentive to let them back in. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Apple, the way they do business in that way. One of the reasons I will never own an iPhone or an iPad.
There's a lot of elements to this, so I apologize if I misspeak anything, because the law system is a really complicated thing. But I do want to add that on September 10th, the Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers of Northern California did issue a permanent injunction that requires Apple to allow App Store developers to push their users to a third-party payment system. So Epic kind of got what they wanted, except for they can't participate in it. So the very thing that got Epic banned was circumventing the App Store, so that Apple wouldn't get the 30% cut. Well, now with this lawsuit, other developers can now do that. Other developers can now legally circumvent the App Store, but Epic Games still can't put Fortnite back on the Apple devices.
Well, and you can see why Apple would do it then at that point, because now they're doing it out of spite. If Epic Games had not pushed the lawsuit to the point where now they're ordered to let everybody do it, if they'd have complied before that and the lawsuit hadn't got that far, they'd have won in the deal by going ahead and just giving that deal to one person or one entity. Now that they have to give that deal to everybody, they can turn around and say, well, you know what? You forced us in this situation. You can't play in our playground anymore.
Yeah. Imagine, I mean, really, it's not that big of a surprise that Apple is saying, nah, screw you guys. You cost us a lot of money.
That's Apple. Apple is all about, being proprietary and trying to hold all the keys to the kingdom. And
it's kind of like a win-lose situation. You win some, you lose some, right? Epic won the part where developers get to circumvent it and do their own thing. Not allowed to. It's like, I don't know. I can't think of a good analogy right now. I'm just thinking, if you were able to, get the speed limit raised in your neighborhood, but then suddenly you got kicked out of the neighborhood because you got the speed limit raised. Everyone else could go faster, but you got to live in another neighborhood now.
Or they take your license away.
Yeah, there it is. They take your driver's license away.
That would be more appropriate.
You got pulled over for speeding, so you sued, and that lawsuit caused the speed limit to get raised, but your driver's license gets revoked in the process.
Yep, because that's the way they are.
So, if you wanted to play Fortnite on your Apple phone, your Android, or your iPads or anything like that, don't be expecting it anytime soon.
Or possibly ever.
Yeah, or possibly ever.
That's kind of how it is. That's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So, Doc, what do you got? What's your next item?
Okay, well, we're going to go on then, and let's see here. We'll go ahead and close that out and go to the next subject in our list. Okay. We had another death in the community. Hold on, let's get rid of this pop
Dang.
up. I hate these dang pop ups. Okay. Reuben Claimer, his toy inventor, he was the one that made the new designed Game of Life, died at age 99 just a couple weeks ago. Now, you may not know who Reuben Claimer is. Like I said, he did work for Milton Bradley, and he took their classic game that was basically what life started out as, and he made it what the modern day life is, and that's been going on for years now. Most people would see it. The original game was called the Checkered Game of Life, and that was actually made by Milton Bradley himself, the person who the company was named after. But Claimer rewrote the game. But the other thing for us nerds that would really kind of draw him out to people is he also developed the first phaser rifle prop for Star Trek.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, that's the part I thought people would find kind of interesting. He also came up with a new kind of plastic that worked better in some of the games and stuff too. But it's that making of the phaser rifle. I thought a lot of nerds, especially our cosplay and prop designer nerds, would really get a kick out of it. Is Gene Roddenberry came to him and asked him to make basically a phaser rifle, and he's the one that created the first phaser rifle for the original Star Trek. They also did like a hypo squirt gun, which is one of the first of the big squirt guns that eventually became like the super soakers and stuff. It was a king size hypodermic pistol of extraordinary devilish capabilities. Enduring popularity, he did that. Where's the Star Trek part? Yeah, here we go. Mr. Claimer told Dispatch that Gene Roddenberry, the creator of the 1960s sci-fi series, that had asked him for a rifle, a gun of some sort, after a TV executive complained that the show was too cerebral. So he created the first phaser rifle to add into the series. And our prop designer people, they would go gaga over that kind of thing. And so he's a big loss. He's a big loss for the community. I think it was the 13th of September that he died, if I remember correctly. I'm not seeing. I'm not going to dig. Oh, September 14th. 14th of September. He died. So that's another one. They're dropping like flies around us. A lot of our gaming royalty, and he would count as a gaming royalty because without those family friendly games like Life, a lot of other games would never have made it, off the drawing board, and into the popularity that they now have. And then to also jump in and help with such big designs things as working on Star Trek. I mean, come on. Who here wouldn't kill just to have one of their props used in one of the TV series?
Yeah.
even if they weren't paid, they would just love to have them on the credit. So I just wanted to bring him up as yet another. I know it's sad news. It's obituaries. We don't want to think of people dying around us all the time. Unfortunately, it's happening. At least he made it to age 99, so he had a good long life. And
that's that's what I was thinking about was, at least he almost made it to
100,
a whole century.
Yeah. and he did it surrounded by toys and games. I mean, can you imagine a better life? I mean, come
Yeah.
on. But that's all I wanted to talk about on that one. It's like I said, a really quick one. So we'll jump on to your next topic, which
Okay.
is a Nintendo topic.
Yes,
Nintendo
Nintendo.
Direct.
Um, just, just to, like, okay, we've been talking. People in the community have been talking a lot about how usually there's a Nintendo Direct in September, and here we are. Here we were,
We're halfway
in the
past
last.
September already.
Yeah, yeah, we're more than halfway past September, and no word about a Nintendo Direct. And then today, on September 22nd, they announced that they're going to have a Direct tomorrow on the 23rd. So if you want to see what's going on, it's going to be 40 minutes long, approximately. A Nintendo Direct live stream featuring roughly 40 minutes of information, focused mostly on Nintendo Switch games launching this winter, they say. Um,
Yeah,
so
everybody's
I
getting their
would,
big release shows out for the end of the year.
yeah. There's in the last couple of days there's been some rumors coming around about a direct, and also about a patent for a new controller that would coincide with some Nintendo Online updates. So I don't like to spend too much time talking about rumors because who knows how true those are. But the rumor is that there's a patent for a Nintendo 64 designed controller for the Switch, which could also coincide with the rumors about Nintendo 64 games being added to the Switch Online service. But there's also been rumors about Game Boy games being added to the Nintendo Online service. But the leak about the patent came out just I think yesterday, and apparently the more details on the patent site was going to become available on Friday. So there's some people out there that think that Nintendo decided to quickly put together this live stream direct the day before that information would, more details would leak on Friday.
Mm.
That's the speculation. It's hard to say.
Trying to get ahead of the
It
leak.
Yeah, I mean it is a little bit odd to announce a direct, one day before the direct happens.
Yeah.
And also, it's happening in the afternoon, and Nintendo Directs are usually early in the morning. Most Nintendo
Mm.
Directs are like 9 a.m. or something, 9, 10 a.m.
Oh.
This one's in the afternoon, so it'll be 5 o'clock Central Time. I mentioned that since that's where probably most of our viewers are. That's where we live.
Right.
But they promote it 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. September
Right.
23rd.
Okay. Well, I don't
So,
like to
not a lot more to
perpetuate.
say.
I don't like to perpetuate rumors either. But there's a rumor out there that there's a rumor mill.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and. I guess that's a dad joke. It just doesn't fall through. Let's see. We're going to go on to the next topic, though, because that's another one of the quick ones. We got mostly quick ones today, so we might actually come in under time. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this one I thought was quite interesting. We've been kind of tooting the horn for Kickstarter things. This is how to RPG with your cat.
What?
It is a set of rules where instead of rolling dice to figure out how actions happen, you look over at what your cat's doing to kind of figure out what the results are. So you let
Oh, yeah.
your fickle cat gets to decide how your RPG goes.
I'm sure it goes well when the cat decides it's nap time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's see, like prompt: invite your cat to show you their most impressive stunts by gently placing a light sheet of towel over them. Yeah, that's an acrobatics check.
yeah.
It's. I just think it's neat. Um, I'm going to go in with my magnifier so I can read this a little bit better for me. You won't see any difference on your screens, but this way I can see this chart because it's kind of small.
I swear our cat is trying to get kicked today just before streaming as I went to go get a drink of water. The cat ran right across me twice, and I ended up kicking him because I didn't see him
So,
coming.
a one result is get tangled up under the sheet and must be rescued. That would be a fumble. And it says
Yeah.
in your cat's character misjudges their attempt and fails epically, seriously injuring themselves in the process. Down to like a 10. Dodges the sheet, avoiding being covered by it. And then that's moves so quickly that they are almost impossible to see, artfully executing the maneuver in record time.
Mm.
This is like 1 to 10 results. I mean, a lot of MMOs use a D20 system. This looks like it's doing it up to 10 levels, but this is just one example of one of the charts.
Yeah.
Um, and so it would make for a really interesting thing. And like it says in this example, you could actually give your cat their own character, as it were, and for the most part, you kind of decide what your cat like. He's your animal companion or something. But whenever you want to determine what the animal companion does, look over at your real animal companion and see what he's doing, and use some of the setups that they set out to do, and prompt it so that he kind of makes some of his own decisions. He doesn't realize it, but yeah, guess what? Your decisions have consequences, kitty.
You're gonna have to send me this link. Like, send me the link to this, and so I can then share it with Squirrel, so you get a kick
Yeah,
out of
she
it.
would. I thought Score would like that. Yeah, let me go ahead and just pop that in the chat window right now, so that if anybody comes in and watches this later on the replay on YouTube, they'll see it in the chat
Yeah.
window, and you can always grab it off the chat window or what have you, or I can send it to you. Um, in fact, let
Yeah.
me pop into Facebook real quick, just long enough to send it to you. Just because I'm going to close the window and I don't want to lose it. There you go. So,
Excellent. Excellent.
but anyway, I thought that was kind of neat, especially for you pet lovers out there. For those who don't know, I do run a group on Facebook that's not been super active lately, but it's called like My Furry Sidekick, and it's for nerds who are pet owners to show off like their pets in cosplay or talk about how they like. For instance, my girlfriend will take like and make her character have like an animal companion that's
Mm.
played by her teddy bear. So she thinks of that
Mm.
as like her furry sidekick. It's her animal companion and stuff because she gives a personality to her teddy bear. I think she's a little bit broken, but that's okay. I like her that way.
Mm-hmm.
This is my family. It is small and broken, but still good. Feel good. Yes. Anyway, so that's about all I had for that. Like I said, we're gonna just jet on through to the next topic, and that's you again, and
Yep.
PS5.
PS5 and Xbox Series X. Um, they are going to start selling them in physical stores tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
September 23rd.
Nice.
You may have to check with your local participating Best Buys to find your local Best Buys to see if they're one of the stores that got units. Of course, it's going to be limited quantities, but there's based on what I've been seeing online, it sounds like they're talking about somewhere in the ballpark of 30 to 50 consoles uh, for each system per store. But the numbers aren't official. That's just some numbers that have been talked about from people that claim to be employees at Best Buys that are having to like stock it up and prepare for tomorrow. It's the first time these consoles have been available physically in store since they launched last. I guess it'd be last fall. You'd call it. So after nearly a year.
Well, it says that some stores have had very, very limited qualities, but they've gone like really quick as soon as they get them. Is what I was reading a little bit of that. But this is because it's been really scarce. They've
Yeah.
been even
Uh,
rarer,
I
rarer at physical stores. But
yeah, I don't think they've been in physical stores. Have they? I think it's only been sold online as of now.
has it? Because this
Yeah.
this implies that they were actually there, but rarer.
Yeah, I guess it does say they've been even rarer at physical stores. Um, I don't know of anyone that has seen one in a physical store inside in the United States anyway. I
Hmm.
think I saw a video once that was like somewhere in Europe where they had a few Xbox systems, like Xbox Series S's or something. Um, but yeah, this is really good news for anyone that's trying to get their hands on either of these consoles. You know, even if you don't get one in on one of this on tomorrow, which I mean, if you can make it up there, good luck and all that. However, I want to say this is a good sign of things improving because with them being sold only online and so far, pretty much so far, and so much being done um, with bots and resellers
Hmm.
scooping them up to resell them for 800, 1,000, $1,200. The prices have already been coming down gradually, and now that they're going to make them more available in physical stores where you can't just scoop them up with a bot, you have to actually go in person and pick up a system.
It'll
That
kill the
will,
profitability.
yeah, that will hurt the profitability for those scalpers and make
Yep.
it a little bit easier for the regular everyday
Joe.
gamer to be able to pick it up. Yeah.
Yep, that
So
makes sense.
I think it's a good sign of things to come that they're doing this.
Now, it does specifically say that there's no real definite talk of the Series S making it out for the Xbox, and that initially, like tomorrow anyway, they're only looking at the disk drive version of the PS5.
Yeah.
But they did say, however, that it would be in the future they're going to have both versions of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. But there's nothing talked about of the Series S whatsoever. So the S might still only be available online. Now, I don't know the big difference because I don't do Xbox anyway.
Yeah.
But
Well,
for those
there
who
is
are
a
looking
pretty
for a Series S,
yeah. If you're looking for a Series S, then tomorrow's not going to be your day. If you're looking for a Series X, then
get
that's
to the
what
store
you
early.
yeah. Get to the store very early.
Like be there
Um.
waiting at the door when the manager comes in to unlock and
Yeah.
say, "Yeah, I'm here for
If
your first copy of the
yeah.
Xbox X. Can you just like grab that and meet me at a register?"
I'm hoping to scoop up a Series X in the spring. That's
Right.
currently my target is to get one in the spring.
Once
I
we
would
get
love to get one. I would love to get one sooner, but life.
once we get
And
moved and everything, and we start getting our furniture and everything else situated in the new house, if I start to have a little bit of extra money, I might eventually fold and get a PlayStation 5. But I don't know. I mean, it's like I barely play the console games as it is right now. For me, I'm more likely to play it on the computer, and our
I've
console is really just a streaming device.
I've been feeling pretty good lately because there for a while, there for like half a year, I was pretty much only playing my PS5. Um, but in the last couple of months, I've been playing a lot of Nintendo stuff. Like I've been playing on the Wii U and my Nintendo DS or 3DS rather.
Right.
I played some on my Xbox. Like I played Halos 2, 3, 4, 5, and ODST on my Xbox One, and then I played Metroid 1 through 4, split between my Nintendo 3DS, my Wii U, and my Nintendo Switch. And
Yeah.
now I'm on my back on the Wii U playing Metroid Prime Trilogy.
Truthfully, if I was going to get a new console right now, I probably wouldn't shell out for the PS5. I would wait until I can get a hold of a Switch, because most of the PS stuff I want to do is going to be available on the 4 still anyway. I'm not as hyped about some of the newer games because I'm not going to have time to
A
play
lot
them.
of it, a lot of them. There's a few exceptions, but yeah, like God of War is going to be on the PS4. Horizon Forbidden West will be on PS4. I mean, they will definitely run and look and play better on the PS5,
Right.
especially with the haptic triggers and whatever haptic feedback adapter triggers.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd be more likely to
better
go
loading. Like I,
for the VR
oh,
system.
I got so I got so spoiled by the PlayStation 5 lack of loading that now when I have to wait, I have to wait like 6 seconds to load. I'm like, oh god, takes
Yeah,
forever.
the instant gratification generation. Yeah, and I think back to when I had a VIC 20 using a cassette tape drive, and we had to wait for that to load to play a game sometimes. I don't feel bad for you
Yeah,
whatsoever, because I'm like used to having to wait.
well,
Like you turn it on and come
yeah,
back a half
well,
hour later. Oh, and look, it's loaded.
once you get used to the newer, faster, better, it feels like waiting
Such a
through
huge step
quicksand when you go
back.
to the older stuff.
Yeah, it seems like a
Yeah,
huge step backwards. I know, I get you, but still,
I was I was playing on a PS4 game the other day, or not the other day, like a few weeks ago, and I kept like every time we had to get to a load screen, I'd just like get on my phone and scroll through Facebook while I'm waiting, and I'm like, it's killing me.
right? Um,
I'm used to that. I could fast travel in Spider-Man instantly. Like it takes long. Like you have like a little 1.5 second animation of Spider-Man jumping up running up some stairs, and you're in the new other side of the city.
that's why,
Anyway,
like for instance, I'm so
Doc, what's
much
your?
into my 5G phone over our older phones because the 5G is like almost instant gratification.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'll go into my next one, and okay. I've long been a proponent of video games and stuff, and games period as a way to counsel certain disorders and things in people. Uh, there was a big faction for a while there that said that video games promoted violence in children, but then all the studies actually show that it did not. It was the absolute opposite effect. It acted
Mm.
as a catharsis, so they got their aggressions out on the game instead of on people, except for a small portion of the community. And those small people that took it too far and stuff were the same people that would take it too far for any reason. I mean,
Yeah.
they might have read
There's no.
a horror movie. They might read a horror book or watched a horror movie and snapped just as much as playing a horror video game.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence that violence amongst young people started declining every year after 1995.
Right? Yeah, when console gaming and stuff got to be really, really big. Well,
Yeah.
there's now an actual game app that has been certified uh, for ADHD treatment and actually is being prescribed by doctors. So I thought that was kind of neat to see. I saw a little thing about it and I was like, whoa, it's called Endeavor RX is the name of the app. And as I understand it, it's a game developed specifically to help ADHD children focus, and it's approved by the FDA. That's the part that's really big because I've been using like Dungeons and Dragons and other games, to counsel people with autism, ADHD, social anxiety disorder, PTSD, and stuff, for most of my life. But this is the one of the first ones that had FDA approval. So I just thought that was kind of a neat bit of progress that we've started to come through. 73% of children reported an improvement in their attention. 68% of parents reported improvement in ADHD related impairments after 2 months of treatment. 0% were had serious negative events associated with playing the game. So far, no recorded negatives and really high scores for positives. And that just shows, you give them something to focus on, and your ADHD student can get some focus. And one of the things, like when I teach with D&D and stuff for people who have social anxiety disorder and especially autism, is they like working in a world that there's got rules. Because like in normal social situations, there are no rules. They're the unspoken politeness rules, which changes from group to group, setting to setting, and person to person, which confuses an autistic or someone with a low EQ score. Their emotional quotient deficit people who just don't pick up on social cues, which would tell the normal person, okay, this guy's being sarcastic, and okay, that joke is appropriate and acceptable here, and that one is not. And there's still some people that just don't pick up on those anyway because they're just insufferable asses. But
Yeah.
in the case of an ADHD person or an autistic person or something, they have trouble with picking up on those cues and stuff, so they don't know the rules they're governed by. However, in a video game or in a role-playing game, card game, a board game, there are structured rules written down in a rule book that they can go back and refer to. And even in, like, for instance, Dungeons & Dragons, where the DM can change, modify, and whatever, adjust the rules, they still let the players know what their changes and adjustments are. So there's still a strict rule. It's still applied evenly to everybody. And there's not a lot of this on-the-fly stuff. In fact, when you are dealing with a lot of people with social anxiety disorders and autism and stuff, you generally don't do a whole lot of modifying the rules past session 0 when you first establish any house rules you have. You don't try to do too many new rules. You try to keep your rulings as simple and straightforward as possible, because that's the comfort zone for these kids. And it's really nice to see the FDA finally getting on board and promoting a game to that level. Because this would be one of the first gaming apps that's got FDA approval. Now, I might want to look at the app at some time. See how, obviously if it's for kids, it's probably like a pretty simple game. The one screenshot looks kind of interesting graphics. Looks like it'd probably be some kind of dance move kind of thing from just the still. I don't play videos on our show because we don't want to get DMCA'd. But so that's something I thought was neat, and I thought we could share with the community. And wow, it's 20 minutes to 9, and we're already coming into the media side of things. Now, didn't you have one other thing you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I have one more item I sent you a link for.
Oh, I also haven't done a recommendation this week. Did you send me a link for it?
Yeah, I did.
Let me double check.
Marvel vs. Capcom.
You told me about it, but okay. No, that's Teacher Cat. Oh, there it is. I didn't see the link. Okay. Let me bring that one up and bring that over to the area. Set all cookies. There you go. Go for it.
All right. So, a developer named Digital Eclipse has been talks with both Capcom and Disney because they want to make a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 remaster. It's still early in talks, but so there's not a whole lot to say for sure. We don't know if it's going to actually happen, but they have made it very clear to both companies that they are interested in doing so. And there's been word that they are interested in doing that as well. A little bit of insight into Digital Eclipse, as reported here on VG247.com. Digital Eclipse was responsible for both the Disney Afternoon Collection and the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. So they've got a track record with both companies, and so they've worked with Disney and they've worked with Capcom before, and also for working on retro projects, retro games.
Right.
They also were the one company that did the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 port back in 2009. They had a different name back then. They were called Backbone Entertainment, but it was the same company. It was the same team. But the games got delisted from digital storefronts after the contract between Marvel and Capcom ended. So because of that, because of the history of this game, if this does happen and they do get to do a remaster, it's going to be one I'm going to have to pick up physically just in case it gets delisted again.
Yeah, right. Just to protect yourself from the delist problems.
Yeah. So even though it got delisted, I think I can still I should still be able to re-download it. Just a little bit cumbersome when it's not listed anymore,
Right.
But yeah, they said that it's funny because Micah from Digital Eclipse said that quote, in some ways, because we're the last ones to touch that game, we feel kind of like the kid that's part of a divorce. But yeah, they've made an investment pitch that raised over $10 million for the developer, and process of gathering the funds. That game, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, was one of the most requested games from investors.
Right.
So, hey, we just might get it. It was, I say, arguably, probably the best Marvel vs. Capcom game we have. I mean, I'm pretty fond of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 myself, but damn, 2 is great. If they do a remaster, if they get the approval to do this, I have one request, and that's that they have more than one song at the character select screen. Because as great as that song is, if it's going to take you for a ride, I don't need that same sentence to repeat every 7 seconds every time I'm on the character select screen. It's just a little bit too much.
Yeah, there are songs you don't want to get stuck in your head. It's like some of the ones that they use in commercials nowadays. Like, what's that one that they do?
I also kind of sort of would like a little bit of character balancing with a couple of characters. There's a Sentinel's a little bit OP, and the little yellow guy that works for Tronbon, I can't remember his name. He is way too weak. If they could balance those two characters a little bit, I wouldn't mind. I'm sure there's some purists out there that would crucify me for saying that, but
right.
That's just my 2 cents. I'd like to see those two characters balanced a little bit.
Okay. Yep. Oh, it looks like Azazel Sirens has joined us in chat. Welcome, Azazels. We're just doing our talk show today, in case you didn't know. We're getting ready to go into their media thing, which is full of spoilers, so just to warn you. But right before that, I did want to do our recommendation from the vault. I'd forgotten. But I did pull out one for a nice recommendation. It's not too old. It's 13 Ghosts.
Love that movie.
Yes. Oh, it's absolutely one of my favorite movies. I especially like Tony Shalhoub in it, and of course Matthew Lillard. I think they do a fantastic job. I think it's one of Matthew Lillard's best roles, bar none. But Tony Shalhoub too. I absolutely adore him in this movie.
Which one's Tony Shalhoub? I'm not sure.
He's the father.
He's the dad. Okay.
He's Monk.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the guy that
I
plays
thought it
Monk.
might be who you're talking about. I didn't
Yeah.
watch Monk, but that tells me who you're talking about.
Okay, he's
Yeah,
also Jeeves from Men in Black.
yeah,
And
yeah, he did a great job. Matthew Lillard did a great job.
I'm a hot or cold when it comes to Matthew Lillard. I mean, I like some of his stuff. I don't like some of his stuff. Um,
what was
I was
who
not
was
a big
who was
fan when he was a Freddie Prince hanger on.
who was the lead actress?
Oh,
The daughter. Who was
the
the daughter?
daughter.
Was that Shannon Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think so. Shannon Elizabeth, and she does an exceptional job too. Uh, all the way around, and then there's the
Yes,
one.
Shannon Elizabeth. I just looked it up.
Then the other girl
Everyone did great.
that did great. Yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. Um, but I think the part that I liked the most, even above and beyond the acting, which was great, was the images and portrayal of the 13 ghosts.
Yeah,
I
they
thought
had
those
like
were phenomenal.
the the lore behind each of the 13 ghosts. I remember I was obsessed with it. I went through like all the special features of the DVD and like learned like the backstory to each of the 13 ghosts because they're just that interesting. There's such a
Yes. Oh, wouldn't you love to see a crossover? I mean, see if you're with me on this. Wouldn't you love to see a crossover between 13 Ghosts and the Ghostbusters?
oh man,
Wouldn't that be phenomenal?
that would be a violent Ghostbusters film.
Yeah,
That'd
that
be
would
good.
be way more adult than Ghostbusters normally goes, but I think there's an audience out there for it, and I think that some of us would absolutely adore that, even if it did a fan made special feature. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man.
Azazel Siren says, I wish they would do movies on the ghost backstories. That would be great. Prequel movies that talked about the backstories of the ghosts. Maybe
Yeah.
go and exploring the deaths of some of those serial killers that
Yeah. You
became the ghosts.
like you get a little bit of that from the movie, and you get a little bit
Yeah,
more of that in the special features when you go through all those.
but it would be
But
nice to see a feature.
yeah, yeah, I
And
agree. It'd
and
be
she also, I think it's a she, also agrees that Matthew Lillard was amazing in that movie. I have to agree that it's my personal favorite of all Lillard's movies. Now I love him as a D&D player, and I mean there's no denying the fact that he was the perfect Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo movies because, well, shoot, he even went on to be the voice replacement after Casey Kasem stopped doing it. But I'm not a huge Scooby-Doo fan, so that's not nearly as important to me as this 13 Ghosts movie, which I can rewatch this movie over and over and over again, and just
I don't
just
know. I don't know who has. I don't know if I know of anyone who's seen this movie and didn't love it,
no,
unless they just hate
and then
horror movies.
that house, the interlocking contraption that was the puzzle box house. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like Hellraiser on steroids. They took the puzzle
yeah,
box and made it a house.
yeah, yeah. That
You
was.
keep expecting Pinhead to show up and say, "Hey, you're stealing my shtick, man."
Oh man,
So
yeah.
this is my vault pick for the week. I think it's a good one, especially since I didn't really specifically prepare one. And as usual, as I like to tell people when I do a vault pick, it is currently available on HBO Max.
Oh, nice.
So you can
When
go watch it
when
on HBO Max.
let's see, when did this come out? Like 2002?
I don't remember when it came out, but it's such a great
Oh,
movie.
October 2001. I was real close.
2001. It's our Ghost
October.
Odyssey. 2001 and Ghost
Yeah.
Odyssey. Could you imagine if that movie was made now with the special effects? You know what? I don't think it would even be improved. I think that
No,
the
I don't
special
think so.
effects that they did at the time this was done were so amazing. They took what little they had available and did so much with it that any future special effects would probably take away from the movie.
Yeah, it didn't rely on
No,
CG effects. Very little. It had very little
very little
CG
CG and
effects.
stuff. I think it would take away from the movie now if they were to try to do it. using today's ability to intersperse CG
Yeah,
and everything. I actually think that would lower the quality. Um,
yeah, yeah. I can't think of a way to improve that film. It was,
speaking
it
of
was.
speaking of movies, before we go on into our media spoiler, I also heard that the writers and producers that make John Wick are going to be relaunching a remake of the Highlander series of movies.
Ew.
Now, can you think with the fight scene capabilities that they have in John Wick brought to a franchise like Highlanders?
Is this their
Especially.
way of telling? Is this their way of telling us that Keanu Reeves is actually an immortal warrior that never ages?
Yeah, who knows? Now, the main thing I have a problem with the Highlander reboot is, and most people might say Christopher Lambert or Adrian Paul. No, although I love them both, they're not my problem. It's Juan Villalobos Sanchez Ramirez. Sean Connery is the only person who could totally do that role. So it'll be really interesting to see if they write a new kind of teacher for Connor, or who they
uh,
try to get to take the role of Sean Connery, because those are some huge shoes to fill. And yes, he has taken some bonehead roles before, but on the other hand, that wasn't one of them. Everybody loved Ramirez, I think. He was
do
such a.
think I do think that that's one movie that was, especially the first one, was pretty good for its time, but could definitely use with a reboot.
Well, you know that there are still some Queen songs from that movie that have never made it on any soundtrack because there was no
Oh yeah.
soundtrack to that movie. Like, for instance, there was a snippet in the movie where Freddie Mercury sang New York, New York in his own style. And that's never made it on it. Now, Freddie Mercury has also admitted he hates that song. He doesn't want it on.
Yeah.
Before he died, he said that. But still, the fact of the matter was, a completionist would want to get a copy of that just to have everything from the movie. And Queen
You
was
mean
so
like they?
essential to that
What do you
movie.
mean they? You mean they never like released a soundtrack record or anything? Is that what you're
No,
meaning?
there was never a Highlander soundtrack. Um,
Like,
and that's interesting. And because Queen was so iconically essential to that movie, I mean, the whole soundtrack was all done by Freddie Mercury. They didn't use any other singers at all. Every
hmm,
musical sequence in that movie was from Queen. And
I
Queen
now,
is
I
epic
now,
anyway.
I now need to go back and rewatch that original movie and pay attention to the soundtrack because I didn't know that Freddie Mercury was that. I didn't know he did the soundtrack to that movie at all.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Uh,
because they did Princes of the Universe, which is the iconic theme song of the movie, and that's Queen. Here we are, born to be kings. We're the princes of the universe.
mhm.
That's Freddie Mercury, totally rock opera, man. And he's the one
Yeah.
that made rock opera a thing. Nobody ever thought of mixing rock and opera before Freddie Mercury went and said, no, no, here's how it's done. So, anyways, if you haven't had a chance to go watch this movie, or if you just haven't watched it in a while and want to go for a great kick of nostalgia, especially as Halloween's right around the corner and it's a great ghost movie to get you in the mood,
Yeah.
watch 13 Ghosts on HBO right now. They just recently released *Malignant* for streaming. I don't even have any interest in watching that particular movie, but I could cozy up to 13 Ghosts any day of the week. And I think my co-host is not too far behind me in that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I really appreciate is like the ghosts in this movie didn't lean too hard into how a lot of modern ghost films treat ghosts.
No,
You know
they
what I
each
mean?
had very distinct personalities. They were not like half transparent all the
The-
time, or
yeah.
just
Well, like
Ichabod craning around with
if
chains.
I remember right, what the deal was like the other characters had these special glasses they could wear so they could see
Mhm.
the ghosts.
Yep.
And so when they put them on, you could see them, but if they drop the glasses, then they can't see them.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
play with that. The directors played with that in fun ways that really helped elevate the tension
Right, because
for the threats.
you could see the ghost and you could see the angelic writing that was used
Yeah,
to contain the ghosts. They
yeah,
weren't just contained. It wasn't like some electromagnetic field or anything like that. They actually had scripture written in angelic writing to contain the ghosts so they could not break free. And they still, fought against their captors and everything. And it
yeah.
was great. And then, of course, one of my favorite scenes of all in the movie was one of the earlier scenes when through this junkyard you suddenly see this sprayer truck come spraying blood all over the place. And you're like, and Matthew Lillard's like, is that blood?
Yeah.
and you almost want to hear him go, zoinks. That doesn't sound too good, doesn't it, Scoob?
Zoinks, Scoob.
Raggy. Let's get the fuck out of here, Raggy. No. Anyway, we're going to go into our media section now. And this part, as always, is spoiler alert time. We do not hold back on spoilers. We do handle most of the CW verse here. And so we're going to hop on over to that now. And this is probably our favorite part of the show and the part that always makes us go over. So, first off, the CW verse. And the first show in the CW verse for us this week is Supergirl. Now, Supergirl, we've in previous episodes we've mainly been focusing on Nixley, who's escaped the Phantom Zone and is trying to get the power back to rejoin the fifth dimension and take control from her father and basically murder him and take the throne. But she's right now doesn't have her powers again. Her powers are dampened, and even though she captured Mixopidalic, last episode at the very end, and put him in the orb to help her find the totems that she needs, it's not working, and she's trying to figure out why. So what we find out is, in the debris of the building she destroyed, as the aftermath of her getting her powers back, and still some of that fifth dimensional energy is in the dust and debris. And it's causing all the people around to get sick. And that one congresswoman, I like to nickname her the bitch queen, is
That's fair.
yeah, she's pretty not there for the people.
Yeah.
But she gets sick too because she was in and around that stuff. But she goes ahead and she knows about an experimental drug that's in trials and stuff, and it's an expensive treatment, and she should pretty much strong arms her way into getting the doctors to give her that drug. Basically saying,
Yeah.
do you want to get any of your clinical trials approved? Then you better give me that
Yeah.
treatment. And so that um, genetic viral reagent treatment interacts with the fifth dimensional energy and allows her to kind of control the fifth dimensional energy that she's absorbed so that she can pull the energy that the other victims absorbed and utilize it basically like fifth dimensional imp magic. She basically can tap in and be just like a fifth dimensional being, but she doesn't understand, and she wouldn't care if she did, that the energy she's drawing forth is coming from everybody else who's been infected by that fifth dimensional energy. And
Yeah.
so the
And
people in the
her,
hospital are getting sicker and sicker. And she feels fine. She even absorbs her aid to make herself a sandwich.
yeah. Um, yeah, she didn't, I don't think she necessarily absorbed him, but more or less did, because she
She
was
turned him
like,
into the
she
sandwich.
said, she said, I would kill for a sandwich right now, and then her assistant dies immediately, and she has a
And
sandwich.
the blue sparkles, and then that coalesces in her hand as a sandwich. And she,
Yeah,
instead of being horrified at what she did, she looks down at the sandwich and is kind of like, "Cool, I can work with this."
yeah. She's like, I did this.
Yeah,
I can do anything.
she's like, I could take and rebuild this whole damn neighborhood, and there's no need for worrying about these low income housing.
Yeah.
I can bring a whole bunch of investors into the area.
Hmm. Hmm.
So basically, she's trying to use it to her advantage.
Yeah.
And of course, Kelly Olsen, Jimmy Olsen's sister, and the new guardian is the social worker, and she's the one working really hard to try to get people to notice the plight of these people, and that includes trying to get Kara and Alex and them to notice, but they're so busy trying to catch uh, Nixley
Nixley. Yeah.
that they're so focused on the saving people tomorrow that they're not seeing the problem of today. Now, in a way, and I think Kelly is being a little bit unreasonable because when you look at it, if they don't stop Nixley in the tomorrow, a lot more people are going to get hurt. Now, I'm not saying that the people that are being hurt now shouldn't be cared for, but that doesn't mean that necessarily Supergirl and the Super Friends should have been the ones doing that until they found the supernatural cause.
Yeah.
Because their energy was actually better served trying to catch Nixley, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
I
I
don't. I
agree.
think Kelly was being a little bit unreasonable, but I understand the message you're trying to put forth is that you can't take these minorities and shuffle them to the side and not worry about them and keep claiming, well, we got these big issues to worry about. We can't trouble ourselves with that. That's not a good attitude to have. You got to try to work to help wherever you can. And it's just that, I mean, the power that's in the hands of Supergirl and Martian Manhunter and them is a little bit, you know, not appropriate for what was needed at the time until they found out that there was a supernatural cause. Alex already
Yeah.
did some help by sending respirators to the hospital.
Yeah.
That was help. And that was appropriate help for what was going on. It just wasn't helping for some reason.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
ended up redirecting.
Until Kelly figured out, until it was figured out that there was a supernatural element to why they were getting sick, and it wasn't just the concrete coming down or whatever. I don't see anything for Supergirl to do to help in that situation.
I mean, they could advocate all they want, but at a certain point, people are not going to listen to advocating because advocating is just words. They need actions.
Yeah,
And
and Supergirl can't heat vision through lung disease.
right, none of the superheroes they've got on their team have healing powers.
Yeah,
The closest is John Johns, and he can only heal mental issues.
yeah.
So
Alex is medically trained, so she could have
right,
helped at a medical level.
but she used her ability to send respirators and stuff, which was appropriate. People were having trouble breathing. You send respirators, especially since
Yeah,
Kelly pointed out they didn't have enough respirators.
yeah,
So Kelly should have been appreciative of the fact that Alex sent the respirators over. You know, you use the appropriate tool for the job as part of it too. You don't use a nuclear weapon to pop a zit. That's just not what you do. and yet Kelly was expecting Supergirl and the team to fix everything. And as much as it's nice that she's friends with them and they want to fix everything, sometimes they have to prioritize. It's just like how Superman talks when you see some of the crossovers in the episodes in different various Superman shows where his powers end up going to Lois or Lana or something.
Yeah.
They all start to realize that there's a whole bunch of cries for help out there that Superman just can't answer because there's too many coming in at once. And so he has to decide, do I help the cat out of the tree or do I go stop the 4-alarm fire?
Yeah.
Obviously, helping the cat out of the tree is not the priority. It's the 4-alarm fire. You know?
Yeah.
And so those are the things that they've got to do as superheroes, is make responsible choices as to where their powers are best spent in a given situation. And so in this one, I kind of disagree with the underlying impetus of the show. Not the message, but the impetus. Because the message is, yes, you don't ignore the plight of the small and the minorities and stuff. You do what you can for them, but you still also use your power where it is best going to help the most people.
Yeah.
And
You only have a
stopping
finite.
Nick Lee from taking over the world in order to use that power to go kill her dad seems to be a higher priority than sitting around the hospital trying to just talk to people about how these people need help when they don't have answers. You only
Yeah.
have so many resources out there. I mean, truthfully, there was nothing they could do until they found the supernatural cause.
Yeah.
Once you find a supernatural cause,
which
then they jump in on it.
which they found because they were pursuing Nixley.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in actuality, Kelly didn't know it, but they were working towards her goal anyway.
Yeah.
They just had to redirect and start focusing. I mean,
I think the big thing is Kelly was felt like she was being ignored. She felt like they weren't hearing what she was saying, which she very very bluntly states exactly that no one, she felt like no one was listening to her, and that people weren't listening to the people from the hospital. I did feel like this. It had a good message, but I felt like this writing got a little heavy-handed
right.
in the message.
Because
The
obviously,
episode almost felt like a public service announcement.
right, because obviously, for instance, Alex was listening to Kelly. She sent a whole bunch of respirators over.
Yeah.
That in and of itself showed she was listening. It might not have been the solution, but it was part of a solution. It was working
Yeah.
towards a solution while still trying to focus on the bigger picture that they needed to focus on. Anyway,
Was it was it Brainy or was it Dreamer that gave Kelly that scanner?
it was
That
Dreamer
scanner that
that
detects fifth dimensional energy.
Dreamer gave her the scanner because Dreamer
Yeah.
is the one most used to being sometimes marginalized, like Kelly is.
Yeah.
I mean, because Kelly is, I know, and some people don't like this term. I just don't know a more accurate PC term for it. Kelly is a mulatto. She's half black, half white, kind of obviously by her skin texture, and which means a lot of people are going to lump her into African American, and they're used to being marginalized. Well, Dreamer gets marginalized because she's a trans woman. Not to mention an alien, but not everybody knows she's an alien. But she's a
Yeah.
trans woman, and that's why she got marginalized. She was born as a male, uh, but she actually realized that she was female, and that's one of the things that does make this show one of the most progressive shows out there because it does have a trans female as one of the main characters. And I applaud him for that. And they don't make a big deal about it, but they do bring it up at times when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
They don't just pound it into you like a public service message 24 hours a day. But so she's the most understanding of those. But even John's goes to Alex and points out that he came to Earth as the last of his kind as a Martian, but he first appeared as an African American man, and he had the option at any time to change his look to a different ethnicity, but he didn't. And part of that is because it reminds him that he is an extreme minority on this planet. There aren't any other Martians, really, so
Yeah.
especially green Martians.
I was gonna say,
For a little while,
unless you
there's some
count,
white.
yeah, I was gonna say there's a couple of white ones out there, white Martians.
Yeah, although I think they all left back for Mars, but
Yeah,
still,
I was trying to remember that if they were still around or not.
I think they all left with his girlfriend back to Mars.
Yeah.
But still, that's the thing. They like to bring these little like things in there, and it's great that our superheroes are being used as spokespeople for these kind of groups. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not arguing about those kind of messages being included in these shows. It's a great place to
Yeah.
put them to get people into acceptance. But sometimes they like, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, Philip, when you said they were being heavy-handed about it.
Yes.
Heavy-handed, I
I
think, is
I
exactly what they were.
I applaud the message.
Oh
The
yeah,
writing was just clunky and heavy-handed.
yeah, and I don't think it always necessarily helps the message when you get too heavy-handed about it. People will tend to focus more on the heavy-handedness than the message, like we did,
Yeah.
because of the fact
Yeah.
that it was so heavy-handed. You had trouble really agreeing with the message because of the heavy-handed nature in which it was presented.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Um.
so
But,
that's pretty much Supergirl for this week.
yeah. I want to add one last quick little note. At the end of the episode, they managed to create a little device that siphoned the power back from the congresswoman, or councilwoman, rather,
and
and give it back to the public. And by doing that, that fixed Nick Foley's issue with not being able to find,
the totem.
figure out where the totem is.
Yeah, so
So
we
now they got
know
to,
she's
she
going
has
to
to make a
be
plan now.
she's going to be hot on the trail of the totem now,
Yeah.
and so we're going to be in the thick of it next week. And then the other big CW verse one that we're doing, and I did look up and confirm that yes, Stargirl is supposed to be part of the CW verse. What happened, for those who don't know, during Crisis on Infinite Earth, Oliver became a phantom type being uh, at the very end, and one of the last things he did is when the whole multiverse was compacted together into one reality. It wasn't always noticed by everybody, but there were some alternate universes reestablished by Oliver. So we're what's called now Earth Prime, and that's where Supergirl, Legend of Tomorrow, and Flash, and Superman and Lois, and all of those happen. Black Lightning ended up finishing there. Everything is, Batwoman. That's all what we call Earth Prime. On Earth 2 now is the world that Courtney and Stargirl lives on.
Okay.
And then Earth 21 is the world where the Doom Patrol is. And I think it's some like Earth 9 or something is where the Titans are. because they actually said that the Titans and Doom Patrol are not in the same Earth. Even there is Doom Patrol in the Titans Earth, but that's a different iteration of the Doom Patrol.
Really?
According to what I looked up. Yes. Now, they are expecting to eventually bring the worlds together. And I heard, at least initially planned, it may have changed since this was posted, but on the 9th episode of this season is where we're first supposed to get our like real crossover moment between the two, Earth Prime and Earth 2. Now, that being said, there's nothing talking about that at all anywhere currently into the episode guides that are out. And we're already on episode 7. So if it does happen by episode 9, that means we only have 2 episodes to go to get there. But I thought a lot of us who've been wondering might want that little bit of extra research. So I went out and did that. Because I was inquiring mine and I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Now, Stargirl this week was an interesting little episode. Not a lot of action in this episode. A lot more of it was happening in Wildcat's mind, really. She was suffering from what may or may not have been a mental attack by brainwave, because at one point, now she may have been hallucinating when this is, but at one point, her hallucination version of brainwave that she's been in conflict with did say that right before she killed him, he downloaded a piece of his mind into her mind. So he's still kind of controlling that piece. And it's not just her feeling guilt over having killed him. But that's the big main theme of this episode this week was Yolanda feeling guilt over having killed Brainwave and his son at the end of last season. And she even goes so far as to tell our man, it's like, oh yeah, if you could have done it, because he said, oh, I would have done it if I was in your place. He says, oh yeah, then why'd you let Solomon Grundy live? And it's true that he did end up realizing that Solomon Grundy didn't deserve to die, but the thing I don't think she's taken into account is Solomon Grundy, for a lot of it, is a mindless beast who is just inappropriately used by his owners, as it were. It's like you don't blame the dog for attacking if the owners taught him to attack. That's just how it is. If you teach your dog to be rabid, is the dog at fault? No, it's the person who made the dog rabid that's at fault. But the brainwave was rabid all on his damn self. He's the one that taught himself to be rabid. He needed to be put down, and I don't blame her for stopping him. Especially as he tried to trick her, and she was protecting herself because he had come to her in the image of her son, which she had finally started to forgive. And everything. And then she ended up killing him with her claws, and I don't blame her one bit. Sometimes, as much as the white and dark of the superhero universe is, sometimes it may be more prudent to kill your adversary. And in the case of self-defense, it is. If only one person's walking out of the fight, you want to be that one person.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of morality issues there. Superman is well known for having this problem. He's the ultimate Boy Scout and believes in not killing. And even Batman, to a greater extent, has that as his one main code. And he's one of the darkest heroes in the DC universe. But even Batman can agree with Superman that you draw the line on killing, except Batman will kill in He won't do it in retribution. He won't do it after the fact, but he will do it if it's a choice between the bad guy and the innocents or the bad guy and himself. But then he will also turn around and risk himself to save a bad guy. So again,
Yeah.
he's another darker version of the Boy Scout, where Superman is the much brighter version of the Boy Scout. But when I talk about alignments in Dungeons and Dragons, almost nobody is purely one thing. They're somewhere on the spectrum, and not everything is black and white.
Yeah.
What was it? Even I'm not a religious person, but what's that one saying? He who is without sin cast the first stone. Well,
Yeah.
it would be great if that's how it was happening, but guess what? The person without sin is not casting any stones. It's a bunch of people with varying levels of sin. So you got to respond how best you can respond for the survivability of you and your loved ones. When it comes down to it, I don't believe in peace through superior firepower. I'm not peacekeeper.
Well,
That's being another extremist.
I, I'll kill every man, woman, and child it takes to maintain the peace.
That's right. That's peacekeeper right there. uh, I'm not quite there. He's like what they call him, a corrupt version of Captain America, and that's kind of
Yeah,
what he
kind of.
is. That's kind of his personality. He's Captain America, but a prick uh, who doesn't understand things. But there are gray areas that these shows kind of purposely don't want to get into too much, because superheroes are supposed to be larger than life, so they're supposed to be able to overcome those gray areas because they're putting a spotlight on those gray areas. But then again, that's where they sometimes get a little heavy-handed when they start to say, okay, killing is wrong always, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not always all the time wrong. Intentionally killing should be your last resort. I'm not saying you go out and wholesale kill anybody. Uh, but as an absolute last resort, if no all else fails, it might have to be what happens. If you get a habitual murderer that breaks out of jail 20 times and kills hundreds of people each time he breaks out of jail, it might be time for the death penalty on that particular person, because obviously
Yeah.
you can't keep him in jail, and B, every time he gets out he kills more than his fair share of people. At
That's
some
one of my
point,
problems. That's one of my problems I have with Gotham, is somewhere along the lines, you would think that the prison system would have executed the Joker.
well, that's just it. The Joker never goes to prison. He always goes to
No.
Arkham. That's the thing. All
Yeah.
Batman's villains go to an asylum, not a prison. And
Not
asylums
all,
are
but
notoriously
most
easier to
of
break
them.
out of. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Some small percentage of Batman villains go to Blackgate.
Yeah.
A
Penguin is
small
one of those.
percentage.
The Penguin goes to Blackgate.
He's gone to
He's
both though.
one.
He's been to Arkham and Blackgate. But
Yeah, there might have been
but
a couple of times, but generally
but
speaking, he
but
usually
the
goes
thing
there.
is, the trouble is, villains like the Joker are so insanely intelligent and amoral evil. They're not chaotic evil. They're what you call amoral evil. They just want to watch the world burn. And the Joker is such that, as most eloquently personified by Heath Ledger, that why would you put them in an asylum? Yes, it's for the insane, but they're so notoriously easy to break out of as compared to a prison. And the
Yeah.
Joker is so smart, he's going to make his way. I mean, shoot, Murdoch broke out of the asylum how many times in the A-Team? And he did it without hurting anybody. I mean, true, he had the help of the A-Team, but often the Joker has help from henchmen on the outside.
Yeah.
But if you watch the A-Team TV show, every week Murdoch broke out of the asylum. And and he was considered batshit crazy. You know, the Joker, he's talked his way out, and that's how he got Harley Quinn. He basically
Yeah.
drove her nuts, and she became his sidekick and practically wife. You know,
Yeah. Just
so
about.
so that's the thing. So superhero movies and superhero TV shows and superhero comic books, for the most part, are really heavy-handed on trying to draw that hard line between black and white. But there are shades of gray. And in this case, I think it's a brilliant bit of the show that Yolanda is understanding that, or needs to understand that she is sitting right there in a shade of gray area. She killed Brainwave. Yes, she did. But she did it in self-defense, and she also did it in defense of the whole town.
Yeah.
You know, and even the memory of his son. Uh, and everything. Brainwave was of the Injustice Society. Brainwave was probably the most evil of them. In that, it was either him or Dragon Master would be considered the most evil members of the society. I mean, what the gambler was just a freaking hacker con artist. He just wanted to
Yeah.
make money, and Icicle had good intentions, but the road to hell is paved in such. He wants to
Yeah.
make he wants to take over the world to make it better.
He was
You
a
know,
cold-blooded murderer. He's like Peacekeeper. He'll kill whoever, as many as it takes to maintain the peace.
that's right. But that's Icicle. You know, he was not an evil person. He was just someone that didn't understand the end does not always justify the means. And, you know, so if you look at the various members of the Injustice Society, I mean, shoot, even Sportsmaster and his wife are kind of reformed in the second season because they voluntarily go back to jail.
Yeah.
You know, they realize, you know what, we did wrong. Pat Dugan did help us go watch her daughter do her tryouts, so we're going to honor our deal and go back. And we're even going to tell our daughter, look, we are guilty of what they claim we did. And we are spending our time paying for that. I mean, so you find out, hey, Sportsmaster is not necessarily such a bad guy. He's just a roid jock. He's so pumped up on being like this big roided out. I mean, not that he's on steroids, but he acts like a roided out jock who only really cares about his exercise and his football and his soccer and his hockey and fight win, roar. That he forgets about the little people anymore. And his wife is the same way. They're both kind of brutal people, but when they bonded with Pat and Catherine, you saw that they were real people inside too. I mean, and we didn't really get to see enough of the magician to know what his actual full motivations was, but they all seem to be good fathers and mothers. And the fiddler,
Somewhat.
well, okay, Dragon Master was not a good father.
No.
His daughter
Dragon Master's
was
terrible.
a science experiment.
Yeah.
Dragon Master definitely did not qualify as a good father. I will give you that one. But Icicle was a good father to his kid.
Yeah.
Sportsmaster and his wife were about as encouraging as you possibly could be to Artemis.
Yeah.
And that's why Artemis loved
The
them. Loved
the fiddler
them.
is a little bit of a tough sell because she encouraged her son to be the guy with her tuba or whatever. She was caring. She was caring for her son.
She cared for her son. Oh, they all doted on their children, except
for Dragon
Master.
Oh, and Brainwave.
And Brainwave, he was
Brainwave was
less
historically mean to his son.
right, but a big part of that is because his son, of among other things, never manifested any of his powers that he could be proud of and
Yeah,
take him under his wing.
still,
Once he found out
still.
that happened, it was too little, too late, and then he decided, you know what? If I have to, I'll even kill my own son to further these goals. You guys don't realize it, but I'm the one who killed my wife, not Icicle. You know. So yeah, Brainwave and Dragon Master were the truly evil members of the Justice Society as we saw them. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, this season we've got Eclipso, who is not exactly a member of the Injustice Society as much as a corruption of, well, any group he enters.
yeah,
And then we've got the Shadow or the Shroud or whatever, and he actually seems like, yeah, he's a criminal. He doesn't worry about other personal property and stuff, but it also sounds like he's lived for, several hundred years and stuff too. And some things like that just don't stick to people that are semi-immortal.
yeah,
And I mean, it's hard to hold them to the same standards because they do live for so long. And
yeah,
so that's what I love about this show is the show takes and it shows some of those things, and even the good guys are going through issues like Beth's parents are still getting a freaking divorce. Um, Yolanda's family were totally unreasonable about freaking ostracizing her after what happened to her in school. I mean, yeah, punish her and stuff after it happened and be ashamed for a little while, but dragging it on past a month or so without giving her any chance of redemption, that's a little
yeah.
extreme.
Oh, man, that was so okay. So there's that bit where, like, Yolanda goes and talks to the priest at the church,
Right?
does the confession thing, but she's just talking about, if the devil is
Brainwave and
real
stuff.
and
Yeah.
and that he's there, the devil's in Blue Valley or whatever, and then leaves. And when she comes back, and the mom is there, right? And the mom wants to, or the preacher's brought in the mom, priest, whatever. He's brought in her mom, and her mom was like, "I can't believe you brought in Father, whatever, for your little, for your little problems."
Yeah, and
It's
then
like,
but then
jeez,
father's like, look, okay, what one thing we don't need here is a bunch of blame.
yeah,
Right now, we need to
yeah,
start having
what,
some understanding.
yeah, your daughter doesn't need judgment. She needs
No,
some understanding.
she got fooled by a boy. What teenage girl hasn't been? I mean, come on. She thought she was in a loving relationship with this boy. He needled and talked her into some that she, yes, by hindsight, she definitely shouldn't have done. But you know what? How many girls have done it? Does that deserve a lifetime in a gulag? No.
Yeah, it's just a
And
ordinary teen
I
thing.
mean, you don't just let it get off with a slap on the wrist. But a grounded for a month and being watched a little bit closer is is not unreasonable. But they were like freaking almost didn't want to acknowledge her as their daughter anymore.
I don't
You
even
know,
remember what happened anymore, to be honest. But
she was with Brainwave's son, and he talked her into sending him a topless picture of her, and
uh,
then basically he gave the picture to Cindy, and she shared it all over the school,
eek.
so everybody got to see it, and it basically ruined her rep when she was on line to be class president and doing all these other things and stuff. She went from being like top of the world to being the most, scarlet letter kid in school. And
Yeah,
but her parents were treating her even worse than the school was.
yeah, and that's
And
terrible because really she was the victim in this situation.
that's when you need your family the most. That's when they're
Yeah,
supposed to circle the wagons and come and say, yes, you really shouldn't have done that, and I'm not going to condone what you did, but we're still here for you and we still love you.
yeah,
that's the thing that they kept forgetting is that last part. You have to remember to
Yeah.
tell them we're still here for you and we still love you. And that's what separates good parents from bad parents. Uh, and
Yeah.
that's the thing
And
about this show is it likes to show these different dichotomies, and the fact that everybody has problems in their family. The good guys have problems. The bad guys have problems. The bad guys have good families. They're not all from bad broken homes and shit. You know, Icicle totally doted on his son.
yeah.
Totally doted. And his grandparents too.
Yeah.
They all liked Courtney until they found out who she was. But when they
Yeah.
originally when they saw how he looked at Courtney and stuff, they're like, "Oh, such a good girl. She
Yeah.
would make a good wife for him." You know, kind of thing. Grandparents are like already planning out the nuptials. And until they find out that she's on the other side of things, and then we
Yeah.
realize, hold on, maybe it's not such a good match. But even then, she's still attracted to the boy, and the boy still seems to be a more pure soul than any other member of his damn family.
Yeah.
Um, so it's going to be interesting watching him evolve through the show. Um,
Um.
don't want to take too
Anyway.
much time on this
Yeah.
show.
So yeah. So the big thing, Yolanda is
The key character in this
spirit.
episode.
Yeah, she's the key character. Her big thing is she's suffering grief, but then also actually has brainwave like telepathically in her mind.
Or
And
May. We don't know if that's hallucination or a reality. We just
yeah, that's also
because it
true.
also could be Eclipso. It could
Yeah,
be something Eclipso's doing and just making it look like it's brainwave or her guilt.
yeah, that's also
Just
true.
enough to
But
bring the doubt.
and by the end of the episode, she decided she had to quit the JSA.
Because she was not
And
going to be the one member willing to kill. She thought that was not fair to her. And then she even started blaming Courtney for bringing her on the team, saying, all
yeah,
I wanted to do was be left alone. Why did you have to do this? I was never
yeah,
meant to be Wildcat. And you know what? If there's one member of Courtney's team that was meant to be who she is, Yolanda is meant to be Wildcat.
and
I mean,
so yeah, she
Beth and Chuck get along really, really well. But I think of all of them, even the familial bond that our man had with his dad is not as much as what Yolanda needed to be Wildcat, because she was spiraling more and more into depression after
yeah,
what happened to her. That if it wasn't for Courtney dragging her in to become Wildcat, this could have ended up being something more along lines of a suicide eventually,
yeah.
because
So
depression was taking her over so much.
And so it kind of concludes after she quits the group or whatever, and she goes home. She's
And she
like
quits her
refusing that.
job.
Yeah, she quits her job, and she doesn't just quit her job. So like before we know that she quits her job. Courtney has been trying to call Yolanda over and over and over again. We see that
And her mom's like,
Courtney's been trying to call her.
mm,
Eventually, the phone is answered, but it's Yolanda's mother, and Yolanda's mother is like, she
I
doesn't want
blame
to speak
you
to
for
you.
this. You're the
Yeah,
one who
it's your
corrupted my
fault that
daughter.
yeah, you corrupted my daughter. Her problems are caused by you.
Even though
Stop
Courtney
calling.
hadn't even moved into town when Yolanda did her big boo boo.
Yeah, and then we see the restaurant where she works, and the mom is calling the restaurant to tell her that she's quitting her job there.
He says, but we love her here. Well, tell her at any
Yeah,
time if she needs a job, she's welcome back.
yeah,
And that's pretty good for a teenager.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's a good sign that you're doing
yeah,
good.
that
That
means
you're
that you
doing
have a
good.
good work ethic, and
Um,
and that's the thing. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward how they bring Yolanda back in the fold, because obviously they're going to bring her back in the fold. Just like I know
I don't know.
Jade is going to come back with her Green Lantern ring at some point, and we're going to get a visit by
Probably.
That's the one that I think the crossover thing is supposed to happen in the ninth episode, according to what I was reading before. Uh, Wesley Shipp is supposed to show up as Jay Garrick, I
Mm,
think, as one of the original Silver Age Flash. I mean, not
yeah,
Alan Scott or whatever, but uh,
Alan Scott was the Green
I
Lantern.
mean, yeah, not him, but yeah,
Jay
not
Garrick.
the Jay Garrick is one of the original Silver Age Flash personas, and so and Wesley Shipp, who played the Flash in the '90s, and then plays Barry's father in the current series, as well as playing Jerry Garrick and a few other miscellaneous Flash characters along the way,
Yeah,
is supposed to be like a linking factor.
yeah.
So
I
now
want to
it'll
make.
be a version of Jay Garrick anyway.
Yeah, and I think we've concluded what we needed to say about Stargirl, but there was one last thing I want to mention about Supergirl that we forgot about. Was John Diggle showed up?
Oh yeah, Diggle showed up
Uh,
and was
yeah,
Kelly's like support.
yeah. He was basically Kelly's support while she became the Guardian.
It's
But
the other.
there's a couple things I want to really say about what John Diggle said in this episode. He said something. He told Kelly that he had the opportunity to become a special kind of hero, but he couldn't leave his family. And then by the end of the episode, when he's leaving, he says something along the lines of "worlds are waiting" or something like that.
Yeah, but that first part I was going to mention and I'd forgotten too is because uh, there were 5 episodes of John Diggle this season in the different shows
Yeah,
for the CW verse, uh, not counting Stargirl, and all the first 4 were him trying to figure out what he was going to do with this box with a green glow inside it, which most of us pretty much know or at least anticipate is a Green Lantern ring.
yeah,
But we don't know his decision until this episode when he clearly states that he was given that opportunity but doesn't take it. So we know, as much as many of us fans have been hoping, John Stewart Diggle is not going to be Green Lantern as of yet. At least this version of John Diggle is not going to be Green Lantern as of yet. And that's an important distinction because Courtney and them lives on a different Earth. The Doom Patrol live on a different Earth. The Titans live on a different Earth. There are still some different Earths out there that can be bridged, and there's some of those different Earths have other versions of John Stewart Diggle. And one of them might be one that goes by the name John Stewart, played by the same actor who eventually dons the green ring and everything. And as long as he doesn't CGI the costume, we'll be fine.
yeah. I ain't got the budget for that. Okay, so I think we just have one show left, right? Or two total shows. We got Titans,
Well,
and then
we have
and
What
What If?
If for sure. We're not always handling the Titans, although I am caught back up with the Titans. I don't know if we
Yeah.
want to keep covering the Titans for sure. Um,
Okay.
but What If we definitely want to cover. Now in
Okay.
this one, it's interesting. This is one of your mandatory amusement episodes. This
Yeah.
was what if um, Thor was an only son, basically. If his dad had never adopted Loki, he had returned him to the ice giants um, to be raised instead of raising him as his stepson. And basically, it turns Thor into like the ultimate party animal.
Yeah.
He's basically a teenage frat boy with a magic hammer. And
mm,
Basically, Odin is going down for the Odin sleep. And since Odin's going down to the Odin sleep, his mom is going to go on her retreat so she can commune with the other magic users in her coven. Um,
Yeah.
and they tell him to stay home and study because he needs to learn to be more like a prince of Asgard. He decides
Yeah.
he wants to study at Anti Sobriety U, which is also known as Earth.
Yeah.
So he takes his studies to Earth. Jane Foster detects his approach to Earth and everything with her equipment and stuff. But we come to find him landing in frickin' Vegas, becoming the party animal. And oh my
Yeah.
God, is he the party animal? He and he's got everybody involved. Loki shows up as his brother from another mother, just to party. Um, all his big rock guy buddy shows up to party.
Korg.
Frickin'
Korg X.
Surtur shows
Korg.
up to party.
Oh yeah, Surtur. Oh my God, Surtur thinks the Statue of Liberty is a living woman, like
And he hits
a
on her.
living being, and he's hitting on her.
And he breaks her
He's like,
torch arm.
yeah, he actually breaks her torch arm off. he's
And
like, he's like,
they go to
I
make a
don't remember.
slingshot out of the arch in St. Louis.
Yeah, yeah, we found this thing in St. Louis or Louis
St. Louis,
or
or
I
is
don't
that
know.
Louis, or whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to make the world's biggest slingshot. Come on. And so they call for help. And the person they call for help is Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
You know, and she's pretty powerful. She can go toe to toe with the God of Thunder, but still, he keeps calling her a party pooper.
Yeah. Yes, Thor calls her a party pooper. And like there's so many people. We got Drax the Destroyer. We got the Collector. No wait, maybe
Yeah.
not the Collector, not the
Well, the
Collector. We got
Collector's there,
the
and
Grandmaster.
freaking so's
The
Jeff Goldblum's
Grandmaster.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got all the
Nebula.
Howard the Duck,
Yeah.
and he
Howard.
gets married to Darcy in Vegas.
Yeah. 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 They get eloped.
By Elvis. An Elvis impersonator marries them. It's rich. And Darcy
Oh
starts
man.
out saying she's not interested in him at all, and he's like, "Yeah, you're not even a blonde." And then
Yeah.
they end up
That's, he's like,
next
that's
scene.
bold words
We
for
now
a
pronounce
brunette.
you. We now pronounce you wife and duck. I mean, and it's
Hello there,
crazy,
Miss the
man.
Duck.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, hello, Miss the Duck. I was like, okay.
And then and Jane is really quickly, rapidly falling in love with this
Oh,
frat
she's
boy
smitten
Thor.
with Thor. She's
Yeah.
smitten. But then she calls and tells his mommy on him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she
Okay.
tells his mommy.
And then she tells on him because a couple of things. One, she's concerned that the planet's going to get destroyed by his partying. And then
he freaking destroyed Stonehenge.
yeah, he knocked over Stonehenge, and he's like, "Oh,
On
I'm
purpose.
so sorry, I knocked over your weird little rocks."
And he did it in purpose with like a flick of the finger.
Yeah, he flicked one of them and made them all fall over domino style.
Yep. And Carol
Yeah.
Danvers is trying to catch rocks and put it back together, and
him and Captain Marvel fighting was great. Like she'd punch him, and he would like land in France, and then he would like hit her with the hammer, and she'd land in like Connecticut or whatever. They just kept landing all over the planet while they were fighting each other from really
she
big
kept
walls.
saying, "If I unleashed with my full power, it'd be like freaking destroy your planet, man." You know,
Yeah.
so she has to time. Then and Darcy's like, "Well, how about one of the Dakotas?" You know.
Yeah. Why don't we just blow up one of the Dakotas? I can't even tell the
tell them
difference.
apart. Well, south is the lower one. Ah, okay.
Yeah. anyway, they are preparing to attack Thor with like all the power of Captain Marvel, in like a desert, and then
And
also firing nukes at him from Shield.
in case
Um,
Carol can't do it on her own.
yeah, yeah, and Jane Foster is afraid of Thor getting killed, and she's afraid of the planet getting destroyed, and all that, and so she builds a machine that calls to Heimdall. Heimdall then teleports her to Asgard, and she's like, so, about Thor. And then the next we see her, she's being teleported, with the Bifrost to where Frigga is. And she's like, I need to talk to you about your son.
And then so
And
first
then,
she visits her son in spirit, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm studying. We're doing a studying
yeah,
abroad thing
well,
on Midgard. You mean
well,
Earth? Yes,
I,
Earth."
I love how this went down because you got Captain Marvel all big, like glowing and shit, about to hit Thor with their strongest hit. You got Shield standing there with the Crossbones guy, ready to press the button to fire nukes that are prepped already, and then the spirit imagery of Frigga shows up, and Thor's like, "Mother,"
And he's
and
like,
then
"What? No, I'm studying."
and Captain Marvel like stops. She's like, "Wait, his mother?" And then we show the Shield people going, "Mom?" And then uh, what's her name? The acting director.
Oh yeah,
What's her? I can't remember her name right now.
Hill,
She's like, "All right, I don't
Director
think we need to
Hill.
fire nukes." Yeah, Director Hill. She's like, "Well, let's stand down. It looks like we don't have a problem anymore. His mother's here." And then Crossbones is behind her going, "Oh man, we never get to shoot the nukes." And then he's
He's
trying to convince Frigga, that his mother, that he's just there studying abroad, studying in Midgard culture, and not there to party. And she's like, "Well, I'm going to come and see
I
how
want to
your
see your
program is going."
full syllabus, and
Yeah. And
and
then he goes to everybody. He's like, "The party's over. The party's over." And like, "Loki, I need your help. My mother's coming." And
it's like
Loki's like, "That's your mother, not mine. Remember, we're brothers from another
another
mother."
mother.
Ciao. And like, him and the Frost Giants take off.
And
And then
then
like Drax is calling him a party
I said,
pooper.
"Now who's the party pooper?"
Yeah.
And then
And
finally Thor focuses his power, gets up, uses his Thor voice, and says, "You don't understand. My mother is coming."
yeah. Frigga's on her way. Quick, do everything we can to help. And they're putting the Ark of St. Louis back, and
And
doing everything they can.
rebuilding
Surtur is
Stonehenge, and
repairing the Statue of Liberty.
they rebuild Stonehenge, and
Yeah.
they're wiping the
It was
freaking graffiti off the wall that said like Thor was here or whatever, Thor rules or something like that. And they come in
yeah.
and you see Thor kind of teaching a study group, sitting down. It looks so
Thor
cool.
fixes the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah, and they didn't
With
even break
Squirrel's like,
that.
yeah, they didn't even break that one.
And then Thor is like teaching this little study group, all sitting cross-legged in front of him and stuff, with two blackboards behind him. And she shows up, and then when she's not completely convinced, then Carol Danvers shows up and hands him a tablet. Says, "Here's that information you wanted on the history of Earth and stuff. Here you go." Says, "Oh, thank you." And so finally, Mom's convinced, and they get ready to go home. And he's, "Oh, one moment," calls his hammer, and his hammer comes up, and his hammer is totally freaking partied out, decorated. He's like, "Oh crap."
It's got like underwear stuck to it and writing all over it.
Yeah, Thor's like, "Oh god, the jig is up." And so and then just before they're about to leave, you look up, and what looks like what might be Ultron and a robot army has just landed to take on Thor.
With all the Infinity Stones.
Yes, with the Infinity Stones in their
But
freaking
then the
foreheads.
Ultron face. Yeah, but then when the Ultron armor thing lifts up and it's Vision's face underneath.
Well, you're not quite sure because it's in shadows, but you might think it might be Vision.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good Vision though. I think it's an evil Vision.
Right.
I think it's
But anyway, yeah.
I think it's Ultron in the Vision body.
Well, and when you think about it, Ultron was originally developed by Tony as an emergency system to like stop a possible alien invasion without, Earth's mightiest heroes having to jump in first. And so this is it when like the Avengers never formed because among other things, Thor never became an Avenger.
Or at least they didn't form with Thor as a member anyway.
Right. And of course, you change any part of that delicate balance and you're going to change the whole story.
Yeah. And
But of course,
this was done I think with a little bit of a time jump because I think he left with Frigga, but then he came back to visit Jane and was asking Jane out on a date
yes.
when Ultron showed up.
Right. So
And
we don't know what's
then that
going
was
to.
the end.
I'm really impressed with the What If series for the most part. There's really only been one episode that I didn't really like, and that was the Captain Carter pilot episode. But every other episode since has been phenomenal. T'Challa as Star Lord, amazing episode. Marvel Zombies was fantastic. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands?
That
What if
one was heartbreaking.
all the Avengers had died? I mean, there have been some great shows. Even the Killmonger one from last week was really, really good.
Yeah.
Killmonger basically rescuing Tony Stark so he never has to make the arc reactor to keep his heart going, which eventually leads to the Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be it's just building himself with better and better content. So I'm really impressed with What If. We're not really going to touch on the Titans, I think, because I think it's a little bit outside of what we want to review every single week here, and I'm not
Okay.
always going to be up to date. And I don't know if you are or not either. There's just so
That
much for
one
us to watch.
that one's easier for me to keep up on because it releases like
On
6
Thursdays.
days. Yeah, it releases Thursdays, and so I have more time, and I tend to watch it on the weekend.
Well, my trouble with
However,
that one is if I watch it on Thursday when it releases, then by the time our show
you
comes up, I
forget it.
forgot it with all the other stuff I've watched. But if I
Yeah,
hold on to it to watch until like Tuesday or Wednesday, it gets added to my workload of all the other stuff, and then I feel pressured to watch stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a hard one for me. The other problem I have is that I think it's tomorrow. Doom Patrol season 3 comes out.
I think you're right. I think that's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow, which
Tomorrow.
means so not only that means if we want to keep covering those offshoot shows, we're going to end up covering the Titans and Doom Patrol. Adds another one to our list.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still haven't even seen Shang-Chi. Next week, Carnage comes out, and something else comes out. I don't remember what it is, but there's a couple of movies that come out.
Ghostbusters?
No, that's in November.
Okay.
Let There Be Carnage comes out next week, and then the other one is not as big of a release. But there was another movie that comes out that I kind of wanted to watch. But Let There Be Carnage is the big one, and I'm going to find a way to watch Let There Be Carnage.
I rewatched the first Venom movie last night in preparation of Let There Be Carnage.
Right, it's going to be so good.
Unfortunately, I accidentally rented the movie instead of purchased it.
Oh, so you paid like $2.99 or something for it?
Yeah, $3.99. I paid $3.99
That's not
to
terrible.
rent it, and I thought I was buying it. I mean, I already owned the standard definition. I was trying to upgrade to the HD version.
When
And
I buy it,
that's,
usually it's the when I buy them on Voodoo, they're usually the same price for all the editions. So I go ahead and get the UHD right off
yeah.
the bat, even though most of the devices I'm watching it on can't even handle UHD.
I I
Because
got careless. I got careless because they had like a $13.99 UHD and a $3.99 HD, but I got careless and didn't catch that
the HD
the HD was
was
a
rent,
rental. The UHD was a purchase, so it was one price to purchase it for HD and Ultra HD.
right?
I should have noticed it. It was my mistake. I was
It
like
happens,
chatting. I was chatting with Squirrel while doing it, and not paying attention to what I was doing, and hit the wrong thing.
right? And
Um,
and
so
that's fine. Like I said, and there's another release that comes out on the first, and I don't remember what
and
it is.
and I have an Ultra HD TV.
Well, it's 10 o'clock now, so if we stop now, we've made our time,
Yeah. All
which is
right.
good. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to go ahead and do our closing. I want to thank
Okay.
everybody for showing up. Um, Once again, you can catch us here every Wednesday from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock at least. I'm always here if we're going to have the show because I'm the one that does the primary hosting on my system. Then you'll usually see Lurch here with me, and then a lot of times we'll have Greg here, but not always, as he has some other things going on sometimes. Sometimes we won't have Lurch too because he might be on call for work or something and have to do a work
I
project,
mean,
but so
yeah.
far we haven't had that yet. And of
Oh,
course, if any of us get sick, all bets are off.
yeah. Yeah. There's
You can catch
there's been a
me
few times where I got it on call, but I was able to handle it by messaging someone with my phone.
right. You can see me on the Gamer Seuss channel. This is my only scheduled show right now. Of course, the alpha test for my one MMO I've been alpha testing started again today. So I will start to be doing some unscheduled alpha testing as a stream intermittently. So you can check back on my show. I'm probably going to be back here in about 2 hours after I eat dinner to do some alpha testing, but I won't be on for long because I didn't get much sleep today. Uh, Left Claw Studios is where you're going to find Lurch. They're not doing regularly scheduled stuff right now, really, either. But when they do regularly scheduled, it's usually console and Steam type games.
Yeah.
And it's either him or Angel, his co host, who run the Left Claw Studios channel together. And then Greg can be found at Queen City Cardboard. I don't believe he's broadcasting tomorrow. I don't think he'll be back from his concert in time. But usually on Thursdays about 10 a.m., somewhere between 10 and noon, he starts a show and does some casual, heavy story based games, which can be a lot of fun. I think the last time he was asking if he should go back and play one of the Final Fantasies, I think it was either 7 or 8, was one of the options of things that he could be playing next time he runs his show. So you can check us out there. You can see us on Facebook. Again, join Eclectic Endeavors on Facebook if you want to keep up with what's going on with our convention. And of course, the picnic for next year. We're not doing any live events this year other than Old Fast Brewing Company, which you see Greg at every third Wednesday of the month. Thank you for watching the show. As always, keep gaming and keep that nerdy flag flying. And we'll catch you next time. Bye for me.
Bye.
Bye. Game over.